2 o'clock, we'll get started. I have the honor today of introducing Jerry, who will be speaking to us, obviously, about minimizing bug counts. Jerry's got over 12 years of the industry, I believe. A local here to our testing community and also a repeat offender at our conference, as well as STARCanada, or STARCanada, yes. So definitely a frequent speaker, and looking forward to hearing what he has to say today.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Penner, and I'm a test specialist with the Waterloo Hydrogeologic. What does Waterloo Hydrogeologic do? We make groundwater modeling software. You may have heard how Nestle is modeling all of the water in Guelph and draining the aquifers dry. What Waterloo Hydrogeologic does is we make the groundwater modeling software that allows the scientists to show us how bad the problem is going to be. Wow, that's cool. So, I've started testing in 2005. Before that, I was a hardware design engineer for 8 years. I worked as a test lead for a couple of companies, worked as a senior tester for 3 more. I've worked in companies that range in size from 5 to 500 people. Worked with development methodologies that range from agile to waterfall to chaos and everywhere in between. I know enough about programming to be dangerous. My most favorite scripting languages are Python and DOS shell and PowerScript. And I look forward to the day that my developers become so smart that they can deliver delightful software without me, so that I can move on to another company and help them achieve the same thing. Here's what we're going to cover today. Normally these sessions are an hour long. Mine butts up against snack time, so I will do what I can to wrap it up in 30 to 35 minutes, leaves 10 to 15 minutes for post-game analysis. I know better than to get between testers and free food. So, how much do bugs cost? Well, let's make an assumption. A tester with all of his, with everything that he needs to do his job is $100,000 a year. $80,000 for him, $20,000 for heat, hydro, water, sewer, computers, software, coffee. Works out to a nice round even $50 an hour for our purposes today. So it takes me about half an hour to log a bug, do the investigation, put it into the bug tracking tool. We then hand it off to the PM. He grooms it, puts it into the grooming meeting, the planning meeting, and a team of 9 goes over it for 5 minutes. That's another 45 minutes. Repair time, typically, dev takes 8 hours. For me, another hour to verify. Maybe I need to test the things around the thing that broke. Maybe I need to write a test case for it. That's what that's for. That is the cost of a single bug. I ask you, how many bugs do you have in your backlog? And I invite you to go back to your offices, work out these numbers for your own situation. A colleague of mine spent some time going through all the bugs that were logged against test cases, and wanted to see if they were still active and actionable. So, almost 440 bugs. Over the course of 3 weeks, she was able to close 90 bugs. That's 20% of the bug count. That's a good-looking chart, isn't it? We worked like heck to get this down to here. That's fantastic. We're closing bugs at a fantastic rate. Guess what? The entire development team, except for the testers, except for this one tester, was working on something else while she was doing this. This represents not a single lick of work done by developers. This chart costs $6,000. That is 3 weeks of one tester's time. Now, if we fix our bugs right away, instead of letting them rot in the bug tracking tool, this doesn't happen anymore. I'd like to do some role play today. This side of the room, your test. This side of the room, your PM. When I point at you, you say the next line. Ready?
Can we mix the one, please?
So, who here has either had or overheard this conversation? That's a lot of people. These are the just-in-case bugs. Just in case we run out of urgent bugs, medium bugs, new features, documentation work, and all the unit and UI tests are written and working, we need to have these bugs in place just in case we are in danger of starting a thumb twiddling contest. This is hoarder mentality. The just-in-case bugs are clogging the bug backlog and skewing the metrics. In this example, 75% of the bugs are more than 6 months old. Repair cost over $150,000. Take one developer over a year and a half to fix. Now, it's going to take this long and cost this much to fix stuff that nobody cares about. Why are we still keeping these in the bug backlog? There's a tester by the name of Augusto Evangelisti who's been preaching the zero defect methodology for a number of years, and he's been turning companies in another direction, one at a time. Step 1, throw away the bug tracking tool. Step 2, all bug fixes trump all other development. When a tester finds a problem, developer, PM, and tester get together and immediately make a fix now or fix never decision. Because it is difficult to get people to lose their love of counting and categorizing and measuring and analyzing and shuffling old bugs. But he says that for those companies that he has transitioned to his way of thinking, he says not a single one that's come to him and said, Augusto, we want our old bugs back. Now, not all companies are ready to make that sort of a leap. And I don't know about you, but I don't have the authority to be able to make that kind of decision in my company. So, I take it a little differently. 2 steps. First, assume good intentions. Everyone in your organization is a brilliant individual doing the best they can with what they've got. Nobody is trying to sink the ship. Everybody wants the company to make money and to make a brilliantly beautiful product that works. Second is the line in the sand. From today forward, we vow to release beautiful, delightful features that work with a capital W. We acknowledge that we have a backlog of bugs and we will get to them eventually. But as of today, no new feature is done until it works delightfully. How do we do that? Well, here are 3 tactics. We're not going to stop logging the bugs, but we will slow down the new bug count and we will work on that bug backlog. So when a developer is building a new kit, he realizes he's made a mistake in the code while he's coding. What does he do? Does he log a bug, investigate it, put it into the bug backlog, wait until the next planning meeting and have it go through the grooming cycle, have us all spend our collective 45 minutes going over it to make sure everybody understands it, have it flow through the Kanban board so they pull it back out, fix it, hand it to me so that I can test it? No, he fixes it! Why can't we, as testers, do the same thing? Why can't we, when a developer's done with his thing, hand it to us, and we test it, we find a problem, contact the developer who made the thing, either by email or text. Not by phone, not by walking over to their desk. That interrupts If we have a pull system, then that means that they are not going to have their thought processes interrupted when they're in the zone. I don't know if you've ever been in a particular testing situation where you're right there and you are in it and you see it and you know the problem and you know the solution, and then somebody comes along and says, "Hey, Jerry, how's it going?" And it's not. It can take up to 30 minutes for that to come back. So by using either text or email, then you eliminate that. The developer investigates and lets the tester know if it's a quick fix or something that we need to log for later. And this also avoids the embarrassment of logging PDCAT issues. This saves grooming time. It also saves space with me. I don't look nearly as stupid in the grooming meetings. If test and dev disagree that something needs to be fixed, PM holds leader. That's what a typical love letter looks like. It follows either the expected and actual, or action and problem format. The last line is, what am I missing? I, as a tester, could have missed something. It could be that I made a stupid mistake. It could be that it's a legitimate bug. It could be vague testing requirements or something else. Who knows? This saves the formal write-up time. And it doesn't interrupt the developer when he's in the zone. And I use these questions at the end of my love letters. I let the developer tell me how tough something is going to be to fix, and how fast it will be done. And if it's done fast, I don't bother. If it's going to take a while, I'll log it. As testers, we make the assumption that the only way we can describe to somebody something that's missing in what we're testing by bug report. Ladies and gentlemen, today I grant you the authority to write what you find as features, as backlog items instead of bugs. There was this one time at band camp that I was testing keyboard shortcuts for a particular feature. I didn't know what they all were, so I looked in the help file. Nothing. Looked in the online help. Nothing. Do a general Google search. Nothing. No mention of no mention of keyboard shortcuts anywhere for this product. Huge bug, right? No. Not necessarily. I can write it up in this format, then it's a future feature that I discovered because I couldn't find keyboard shortcuts. Now, if your PM wants to hold on to the responsibility of creating backlog items, that's fine. Send your love letter to them. Let them put their spin on it. We're used to thinking of now and tomorrow, as opposed to now, tomorrow, and never, where tomorrow is sometime between the next sunrise and the end of time. Now is today. Either quickly wrap up what you're doing and get on to this next, or tomorrow, the next item in the bug bag. We'll log it for today, finish what you're doing. It'll take more than a day. Next thing you work on is this. Never. This will not fix. We acknowledge it's a problem. We acknowledge we're never, ever going to touch it. You can make note of it either as a test case, as a test step. We can make note of it as a go for hole in a backlog item. As long as there's a mention of it someplace, we're fine. And we can apply this to what we are finding right now. And remember, those just-in-case bugs may happen if a customer complains about a known issue. Well, if we set these to a will not fix state, they're not actually removed from the system, but they're out of the bug backlog. So they still exist. We can still search them if there's some relevant information in them. And this is a graph of our logged bugs for the past 2 years, broken out by discovery group. The testers are black, and everybody, developers, testers, PM, are in green. So, we have the final acceptance testing with the stars. We have the new feature testing here and here. And you can see that these peaks, the developers, everybody is logging more than testers are. What's happening is if a tester finds a bug, they are likely not just to question they're not just likely to log the bug. They're likely to question whether the test case is valid, whether it's something that needs to be logged as a bug or not. Sometimes, if I'm running a test case and something isn't quite right, I'll just fix the test case while I'm running through it. Developers don't do that. When they find the difference between expected and actual, they stop, they log a bug. That is where we started using the log letters. And you can see the drop in the number of bugs the testers found in the new feature testing after FAT. That represents 26 bugs over the course of 1 month. And that is how much we save. This is an entire developer. Now, there are some pros and cons to doing this. One, the metrics are clear because all that junk that we're never ever going to do has been removed from the count. Collateral fixes are also minimized. Rework is faster because the developer is already in that part of the code, and the formal reporting and logging is dropped. On the con side, you've got the dead letter office. If I don't get a response to my love letter by the end of the day, then whether it's fast or not, I'm logging it to make sure it doesn't get lost. The bugs factor. All of the bugs in the backlog represent a knowledge base for future developers and testers. That gets lost by using this process. It short circuits the process unless you can capture the behavior either as acceptance criteria in backlog items or as test steps. Multiple testers. If you've got 2 testers, each one initiating a love letter to the same developer, then you've got at least 1 tester wasting their time. Easy way to make sure that that doesn't happen is the tester who's logging it, the tester who's sending out the love letter sends it not only to the developer, but all other testers. Multiple developers. If one tester sends a love letter to 2 developers, each thinks the other's going to fix it, nobody fixes it. Send it to 1. The unknown developer. If a dev is not known to test or is AWOL, then the process slows down or stops. And if test and dev are not allowed to communicate across to each other, then this doesn't work. Log the issue. So, start small, pick a small project to demonstrate with. You don't have to work with the flagship product because you're setting up a will not fix state instead of actually deleting bugs. You can back out if you find that it's just not working for you. The numbers that I showed you today are based on my experience. I encourage you to go back to your office and do the work for yourself, work up the numbers, please let me know how it works out. The savings are real. If you can get a PM to call a duck on $100, and you just helped save the company $50,000 and free up half a year of their time so that they can work on other cool new projects. I typically find that there's a 25 to 40% reduction in the number of bugs that I log, which makes me 25 to 40% faster. This helps the team develop and deliver better products faster, with more features that work better. Here's my money shot. You can take a picture of that if you like, or contact me later and I'll send you the slide deck. And discussion. Yes, sir.
My team has been practicing this sort of thing for a while now.
Yep.
And last year, fortunately I have a new manager, but last year's manager decided to look at my defect counts in the system.
Yeah.
And said, you know, in the first few years you were at the company, you logged this many defects.
Yes.
And then, you know, starting last year, you've only logged this many defects.
Yes.
I know it's not a great
It's a terrible metric.
For how effective a tester is, but how do you navigate those kinds of conversations?
How do you measure your effectiveness?
Yeah, how do you measure your effectiveness in light of you're not having a thing logged in the system anymore?
Okay, when a backlog item comes to me, I test it. If I find that there's a problem and I need to send off a love letter, it goes from pending verification into testing blocked. So you can then watch how long something sits in pending block or in testing block, or either how long or how many.
That stage where you have to decide I'm going to fix now, tomorrow, and ever.
Yeah.
Is that like a meeting that happens? Could you explain a little bit more that stage? Like, is everyone decides that?
Nope, it's not a formal meeting. It does not involve an office or a boardroom. It's the tester who found it, the developer who built it, and the PM. Just come together and say, hey, this is the thing that I found. Do we care?
And then does that happen like straight away?
As soon as I found it and can define it and make sure that it's not my stupid mistake, yes, then we have that conversation.
Do you ever get to the point where there's like so many love letters that it's like becoming a backlog in itself?
It can become that problem, yes. But I found that I'm one tester servicing 4 developers and 1 PM. We had an issue this past month where all the developers were working in one area and they were all stopping each other's changes. So things that they built that worked yesterday don't work today. So that was another conversation we had to have, because everybody knows things are just kind of being stupid and working and not working. I find that even with that much chaos, I can still keep up with the love letters for 4 developers. Yes?
Are there ever any like negative impacts on fixing, for example, on 50
That's always a possibility. If you fix one and you introduce 3 more, that's certainly a possibility. Again, that comes back to multiple developers working in the same area, stomping on each other's bugs, or stomping on each other's changes. But that's just an addendum to the love letter. Here's what I found. Here's what you fixed. Now here's what's happening. It could be that the thing that they fixed now allows me to go further in the test case and find the other stuff that doesn't work. Yes. Anybody here ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Yes. Read the book, specifically look up on Wikipedia Sirius Cybernetics Corporation. The company has entire planets devoted to customer service. And they make products so badly that people are ecstatic if they can get them to work at all to do anything, as opposed to doing what they were intended to do in the first place. Every now and then when I'm testing, I think, yeah, I'm working for serious cybernetics corporation. Yes, sir.
One of the things that we've tried to lightweight some of the bug submission is use a Google Doc to basically correlate or consolidate a whole bunch of issues, and then that's kind of like a letter in the sense that we're sending a bunch of feedback to development in a low overhead way.
Yes.
And that's worked out well. What happens, or what can happen, is if that gets too big, that it's just as unmanageable as a backlog.
Yes. So at that point, you have to make the judgment call whether you keep it as a love letter or just start logging stuff.
Sometimes we see issues arise where it takes maybe not significant, a decent amount of time for the dev to investigate how hard the fix might be. So how does that play into that conversation when we're trying to decide if we're going to fix a bug or not? How could we, or what techniques could we use to buffer to allow them more time to make that decision?
If they think it's going to take a long time to discover what the problem is, then open a backlog item that says investigate this. Here's what I found.
And at that point, it's up to the PM to prioritize.
They prioritize it. We take the developer's findings and decide at that point whether we're going to fix now or next.
So it sounds like you work with one group of people.
Yes.
You have cross-team dependencies, and how do you manage it when you have that?
My cross-team.
You have another team that also works on the same product, and they may have stomped on your team's merge, or they may be the actual ultimate fixer of the problem that you've identified.
Or if your system integrates with another application or service.
No, we build standalone desktop software. When we're developing something, we've got 4 developers all working on the same project. Typically, they're working in different areas, so they don't stomp on each other. Sometimes that doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, one of the challenges we have is we have a huge number of teams that could impact or be the people that need to address something. It's not just one team. So I think this would still work, but you may have different processes for those various teams you're working with. It's more challenging to get consensus to go with this one.
I would imagine you want to initiate a love letter to the person you think it should go to, and if they think it's not them, they hand it off to somebody else, and you can see the trail where it goes.
We start our morning off in our company by negotiating on calls, with all of our calls, taking questions I may have.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So they negotiate with, okay, you guys can on that, I'll solo on this, and also we also for that to support her asking some questions and done. So I find that pretty helpful, and also they do sessions with Pomodoro, we call it, 25-minute time session. After the 25 minutes, I would do a look for a short break or take some questions. So I kind of know the schedule of how they're working throughout the day. So instead of writing love letters, I would probably tell them to try to like that whether or not they actually do it.
If that works for you, that's fantastic. That way you're talking to one developer, you're not interrupting the others. And everybody's workflow stays efficient.
Yeah, the cost of consultation is high.
Yes.
So, let's say you find a bug and they have not fixed it because it's a small thing. What if there's another chapter is looking at something that goes to what we were asking and try to find bugs? The problem is end up doing more work at the same people are
Not necessarily. You've still got partial investigation there, but since the bug that you will never fix is in a will not fix state, it's still in the system, so you can actually search for it.
Alright, so if you declared something will not ever be fixed, you actually put it in the system and then legwork about it?
Yes. So that
So it's
way,
basically a database.
yeah, that way if we trip over it again, we can see, yes, we've already made the decision, we're not gonna fix it. If the customer trips over it, well, then maybe it's not a will not fix, and we'll move it back into the backlog. Any more questions? Going once? Going twice? Thank you very much, folks. You've been fantastic.